Madam Webb is not interested in being a good, self-contained movie. It is interested in being phase one of a cinematic universe rollout. Is anyone concerned about the story we're actually telling, or are we just concerned about the stories we're going to tell?
I don't think they're even concerned about the stories they're going to tell. I think they're concerned about the money they're going to make.
On this week's Movie HighLow, we're talking Clairvoyant Paramedics, Pepsi product placement, and a Spider-Man movie with one very important thing missing. But we don't have a neuromuscular disorder. This is S.J. Clarkson's Madam Webb. What a tangled web we weave.
When we don't know what we're doing.
I feel like we've been getting away with a lot of sneaky lows with things like Mario and Hook to actually have to sit down and watch a bona fide piece of shit like this. Hey, this is what we signed up for, right?
Yep.
Welcome to Movie HighLow, a podcast discussing the best and worst that cinema has to offer. I'm Dom.
This is Dee.
And this week's movie is Madam Webb, directed by S.J. Clarkson, released on February 14th, 2024. This is a low episode, says who? The brain trust at IMDb currently rated at a 4.1. The consensus at Rotten Tomatoes has it scored at 10%. The experts at Letterboxd give it an overall 1.5 out of 5. This movie was nominated for 6 Razzies, including Worst Director, Worst Supporting Actor, Worst Supporting Actress, and the 3 that it won, Worst Actress, Dakota Johnson, Worst Screenplay, and Worst Picture. Before we get into it, can you please read the synopsis?
Cassandra Webb is a New York paramedic who begins experiencing strange visions of the future after a near-death accident. Enter Ezekiel Sims, a mysterious spider-powered man who is hunting 3 teenage girls, Julia, Anya, and Maddie. Ezekiel believes these girls will eventually become masked heroes who kill him in the future, so naturally, his plan is to murder them before any of that can happen. Cassandra has to protect the girls, uncover the truth about her mother's research in Peru, understand her new powers, and somehow become the center of a Spider-Man adjacent origin story where nobody is allowed to fully become Spider-Man adjacent yet. Can Cassandra save the girls from a future they haven't lived? Can Ezekiel stop having bad dreams long enough to be a real villain? And is it possible for a movie to promise 3 Spider-Women, Uncle Ben, Peter Parker's birth, magical spiders, Pepsi, paramedics, clairvoyance, and still have 0 actual superhero payoff?
Going into this movie, what, if anything, did you know about Madam Webb?
Nothing.
Nothing.
You said, let's do Madam Webb, and I was like, what's that?
Yeah. Well, it pairs kind of perfectly with Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and we'll get into that a little bit. I was aware of Madam Webb peripherally in terms of like knowing that it was kind of one of the most dunked on movies of, 2024. I'd seen some minor things in the press, but honestly, this was a movie that I just had really no interest in, so I didn't really follow it. Enough time has passed that we could probably have a conversation about where it lands now that it's kind of out of the immediate pop culture moment. This is a movie that has future Spider-Woman, a villain haunted by dreams of his own death, a 2003 setting, and a main character who can see time break open in front of her. All of that, at the very least, should be interesting. But the movie treats all of that less like an actual story that it's interested in telling and more like a by-the-numbers movie franchise setup. Madam Webb is not a movie about seeing the future. It's a movie whose entire reason to exist is to promise you, the ticket-buying audience, future movies, and that is death.
It's funny because I'm the one that grabbed it from the library for you, so we could borrow it and watch it. And I happened to look at the front cover, and it said like a non-stop action thrill ride. And I was like, yeah, I bet. And sure enough, after watching it, like, who the hell is like calling this movie that? You know what I mean? Who was like, oh, what a thrill ride. You know what I mean?
Some marketing asshole for sure. Especially coming off of the Spider-Verse where the intellectual property feels alive and emotional and visual and necessary. Spider-Verse says anyone can wear the mask. Madam Webb says several people may eventually wear the mask, but please enjoy this brief teaser that we've provided in the movie and then wait for a sequel because there will hopefully be some more money for us to wring out of this franchise.
Yeah, exactly.
It's this phase 1 disease. It's a cinematic universe PowerPoint presentation wearing a superhero costume. Madam Webb never turns any of its ideas into an actual story. It turns them into breadcrumbs. And we both know breadcrumbs are not a meal.
It's like you said, exactly. Like, trying to pave the way so that they can have franchises on all these other Spider-Woman, quote unquote, Spider-Woman characters.
I try to avoid like starting to sound like old man yells at cloud, but it used to feel like a movie was a self-contained story. It was a 3-act structure. It was a beginning, a middle, and an end. And now it feels like we've gotten so far away from that. And essentially the whole idea is to create the setup for the next thing that we're going to give you without actually being concerned with, is anyone concerned about the story we're actually telling, or are we just concerned about the stories we're going to tell?
I don't think they're even concerned about the stories they're going to tell. I think they're concerned about the money they're going to make and how much can we capitalize on, how much more can we do with, how many more sequels can we make and branch off from this side character, this B character, this C character, this D character, and it's about money.
There's going to be plenty of lows for us to jump into. Before we get into the lows, let's talk a little bit about the highs, if there are any at all. I've got a couple here, and I want to be clear, this is me trying to be as generous as I possibly can be. So I would say the first high, quote unquote, of this movie, again, being incredibly generous, is I think that the premonition concept isn't terrible. The basic idea of Cassandra's power is actually mildly interesting. She doesn't just have like a Spider-Man Spidey sense in the traditional way that you see it in the movies. She has more of a disoriented version of it. She experiences a moment before it happens, then snaps back into the present with just enough information to possibly change the outcome. So that's actually a workable superhero power that could be scary or tragic or visually exciting. The scenes that they show in the movie after she has the car accident, after she has the near
even when that's happening, when she's in the water, you see it's like the beginning of all, you're hearing all these, like this voiceover stuff that comes into play later, and then you realize like this is where it's all starting.
It's kind of not dissimilar to Final Destination in the way that they try to trigger her quote unquote Spidey sense of like she experiences the moment and then all of a sudden has the opportunity to do it again.
Right.
There's the point where like,
and then try to stop it and everyone thinks she's crazy.
Right.
Kind of like they think Devon Sawa is crazy.
Right. But there's like the moment where Uncle Ben is taking her blood oxygen level. The scene almost restarts and it's almost like she doesn't even understand that the scene is restarting. It just feels like deja vu to her. Right. That could be an interesting way to play it.
Right. If the script is better, the acting is better, sure.
There's an idea there where the power feels less like a gift and more like a panic attack. That could be a strong engine for a thrill ride that they put on the box of the movie. The scenes play out, she realizes something's wrong, time folds backwards, and now she has to improvise a way around the danger. To be clear, this is the closest the movie gets to an actual cinematic idea. I think the problem is that the movie keeps using that as a substitute for real action. And instead of building real set pieces, it kind of turns this high into a little bit of a low because the concept is there, like the idea for what they're trying to do with her power is there, but then the movie keeps drawing on it and then the execution gets more and more exhausting every time it happens in the movie.
Kind of beating you over the head with it.
Another, again, generous high that I would give this movie is the train scene is probably the first time the movie almost starts to work. Cassandra is trying to protect the girls. Ezekiel is hunting them. Her premonitions start giving her fragments about what's about to happen on that train, and she has to respond before she fully comprehends what the danger is. This is the movie briefly becoming what it should have been, especially given what her talent or her power is supposed to be, but it's still super clunky and it's still nowhere near the best version of this idea. But for like a couple of minutes, you can see where the shape of a better movie could have taken place here.
Well, you say nowhere near the best version of this idea, but what other movies have been about Madam Webb?
I'm not even saying about Madam Webb. I'm saying about the immediate comparison that comes to mind when I saw that scene in the movie. Not The Matrix, was Minority Report, where there's the entire scene where Samantha Morton is guiding Tom Cruise through the mall because she knows what's about to happen a few seconds before it does. Tom Cruise is being hunted by all of the cops and they're on the run and they're walking through this mall and the first thing Samantha Morton says is grab that umbrella. And he picks up the umbrella and then everything that she guides him to do is because she has premonitions about what's going to happen. So she can literally be like, stop right now. There's a balloon man coming. Okay, stay right here. All the cops are gathering above them. And as soon as the balloon man reaches a certain point, a little kid wants to buy a balloon and they're positioned where the balloons are just blocking them enough that all the cops can't see them when they walk away. And the whole scene continues like that. And then at the very end of the scene, when they get outside, it's raining. He has the umbrella. He opens up the umbrella and they're in a sea of people of umbrellas. So when the cops are looking, they can't identify them. That is the best version of what Madam Webb is trying to do in that train sequence.
Right, and in that scene, exactly.
You know, where it's like she she can see what's about to happen, so she's constantly trying to get ahead of what the move is, but it still feels very clunky. But you can see that if the movie were engineered more with that sort of thought process and the script was better and they were trying to orchestrate real set pieces,
nothing about it is quality. The writing, the acting, it was all very like amateur hour. And by the book, by numbers.
I would say that train sequence at least understands the assignment for a couple of minutes and then immediately disregards it. There's a version of this movie where every action scene is built kind of like that. Cassandra is not stronger than the villain. She's not faster. She doesn't have a costume. She doesn't punch harder. Her only advantage is that she gets a warning a couple of seconds before everyone else does. That could be a movie, but unfortunately, this movie doesn't really care to do anything with that.
And I do think it's interesting later on when they kind of give you the bombshell or the twist of the mother. She really went to Peru to study spiders because she wanted to find the cure so she could cure her daughter before she was born. So it makes you think that has less to do with that she's driven by science, but driven by finding a cure so she can protect her daughter.
Right.
Which I did kind of like that twist, I guess. I thought that was kind of sweet.
The movie hasn't earned it at that point.
Yeah.
There's no real emotional connective tissue to make that be a revelatory.
And I guess it kind of feels like a reach at that point too. It's like, oh yeah, oh that's why she was there. You know, I'm like, how convenient, but like, but the idea of that a mother's love can be that deep, you know, I do like that. But I mean,
too little, too late.
Yeah. But again, like right as soon as you see that she's heavily pregnant, 1970, like you just know, okay, oh, this is gonna be her mom. Some fucking bad's gonna happen. She's heavily pregnant. The mom's gonna die. Okay, the mom's gonna die, but if she's gonna be born somehow, how's she gonna get the spider power? Like, and then oh no, you see that she's in the water now with the indigenous person that's trying to help keep the baby coming, and then the spider bites her, and then from there it must go into the embryo or whatever, and then you know what I'm saying, right?
I'm with you. It's all pretty cheesy. The last bone I'm willing to throw this movie is, as a high, the 2003 setting could have been fun. That could be a cool creative decision if they're like, this movie takes place in 2003 because we don't want cell phone technology to be part of the story. We want to get around that. Or because there's something about that landscape 2 years after 9/11 in New York City. Like if there's something that they're doing creatively for the story, it could work and it could be interesting. Even the pop culture elements could all be interesting. It needs to be more than just quickly driving by a Blockbuster video for all of us millennials in the theater to feel some nostalgia.
Was there a Blockbuster?
Yeah, they drive by one in the early and it's like, hey, there's a Blockbuster. If they wanted to have some fun with it, they could have, but instead what they do is you get shit that is anachronistic. You get things like the girls instantly being on the radio news after escaping the train. And it's like, well, how would that happen in 2003? No smartphone, no Twitter. Like, how does information move that quickly? So it's not really interested in exploring the setting or the timeline.
It's bullshit.
It is bullshit. And again, it's just another case of Madam Webb having ingredients and not making a meal out of it.
Yeah.
Let's take a quick break. We'll come back and we can really start to talk about the lows of this movie.
A good tangled up in any webs.
You are way safer out here. Just, you know, be like a Girl Scout girl. Be that. Just be that. 3 hours, okay? Just stay here. Don't do anything dumb. Seriously, don't do dumb things.
All right, so we played nice. Now let's really take the gloves off and get into this piece of shit here.
All right, let's do it.
I think the first low of this movie is Dakota Johnson's performance.
It's
the most visible problem in the movie. And to be fair, the script is doing her absolutely no favors. Nobody in this movie gets good dialogue or an emotional reality or a character arc. But her performance in particular becomes a real problem because she's the center of the movie, and the center of the movie feels like it's completely checked out.
Well, it feels like a phoned-in performance, too.
Her line readings in this movie have this flat, disaffected quality. It feels like the character Cassandra in the movie is at best indifferent to the movie she's in, or at worst pissed off at being the star of the movie.
Ben, what are you even doing back there? How would you know if you could climb a wall if you've never tried? Would I? if I knew the price to pay was the lives of 3 girls. But I don't have a neuromuscular disorder.
Life expectancy.
There's a version of that that could potentially work, because if you consider what the character is supposed to be, she's supposed to maybe be emotionally guarded, and she's supposed to be detached, and she's supposed to be someone who maybe has trouble connecting to people. She obviously has a lot of baggage because she thinks that her mother was more interested in being in Peru looking for spiders than actually taking care of her body and her daughter when she was 9 months pregnant. But this doesn't read as character detachment. This reads as actor detachment. It doesn't feel like Cassandra Webb is emotionally closed off. It feels more like Dakota Johnson doesn't want to be in this movie.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why it feels phoned in. It feels like she probably memorized her lines kind of thing and then just like delivered them, but her mind was really somewhere else. I don't buy her for a second as a paramedic.
I'm slightly confused as to why her character is even supposed to be a paramedic to begin with, because the way the movie sets up that character is like they go, they save these people, and then like the kids of the people that they saved are like drawing pictures for her and trying to connect with her. And she seems like she could not give 2 shits less.
I know, like, how am I supposed to react to this? What am I supposed to do?
And it's like you went into a profession where your job is to save people, and you clearly have like the least amount of empathy of any human being I've ever seen.
I don't know.
Do you know what I mean?
It's a little
Like,
weird. It is a little
It
weird.
seems like why not make that character have a completely different profession, something
know.
more technical or
In the
reserved.
comics, is she supposed to be an EMT?
In the comics, she's supposed to be an old woman. With her in the mentor role to the 3 younger girls, it would feel better if it were like a Professor X and the young X-Men.
I know.
If that were the dynamic,
I think
would
it
make
was
more
trying to go
sense.
for that, but it didn't succeed in that.
God, no, not even close. This movie desperately needed some performance to anchor it. It's not just a Dakota Johnson problem. There's not a single performance in this movie that really works.
Even like what Adam Scott that you like, but
And
you
even
like him, but
he's just playing nice guy Ben Parker. He's almost just like trying to wink at the audience, be like, do you know who I am? You're looking for at least, is there even going to be like a side character
Right.
that pops?
Right.
You know what I mean? And there's nothing, there's not a single
I think some might
performance.
argue there's the people that might actually like this movie probably like, oh, the villain is so fucking cool or whatever.
God, well, I don't think that's the
Yeah, I
case
know,
at
I
all.
know.
In fact, that's the next low that I have, is that Ezekiel Sims is a horrible villain. This guy's performance is equally on par with Dakota Johnson's performance in terms of how effective it is. The idea for this character is simple and potentially workable. He has visions of these 3 young women who are eventually going to kill him, so he decides to kill them first. As far as villain motivation goes, it's not great, but at least keeps it simple. It's paranoid, it's self-fulfilling, it gives the movie a nice time loop irony, because he's ultimately going to create the exact future that he's trying to prevent. But the execution of it is just terrible.
In the beginning where he opens the red umbrella behind the mom, like, and it's all out of focus. Like, you knew from jump, this guy's no good.
It's almost like the level of like someone's wearing a white hat and someone's wearing a black hat. And you're like, well, that's going to be the bad guy.
Right. It feels like again, by the numbers, like a villain by numbers.
If you're going to be in a comic book movie and you're going to be the villain, that should be the chewiest, pulpiest, funnest role.
Right.
Sometimes the villain characters outshine
When they're done
the
well,
heroes.
like Cersei Lannister in Game of Thrones, right?
Or I'm saying for comic book movies like the Joker and Batman. You know, it's like
When they're done well, when they're done correctly, right.
You're not tragic, you're not fun, you're not even memorably bad in the right way. This guy mostly feels like he's wandering through the movie because the plot needs someone in a Spider-Man-ish costume to chase people around.
But also he's like the through line for her character too, because it's like this is part of your whole existence, and how it came to be is, or almost didn't come to be, was because of him, and blah blah blah.
The next low is that the premonitions replace action instead of creating it. I think it ends up turning into maybe one of the biggest structural problems in the movie. Because Cassandra can see the future, the movie keeps showing the audience the danger before it happens. That can work, but after a while, it means that the action doesn't feel like action anymore. It feels like the movie is showing us rehearsal footage before the actual scene, so that it can go on autopilot and just close a loop. You know what I mean? It's just telegraphing you like, this is the scene, this is how the bad version plays out.
Right. It kind of
Let's restart it, and now you know what they're going to avoid, essentially.
It cheapens the actual action.
I feel like a set piece, especially in a comic book movie or an action movie, it should escalate. There should be weight, geography, cause and effect. It should feel like something's really happening in real time. But in this movie, the movie just cuts the tension off at the knees because it keeps watching possible outcomes instead of building action. It just removes any suspense and it starts to feel like it's over-edited deja vu.
I think they were trying to do a lot of, as we call them, Krangles, right? The crazy
Oh,
angles.
that's another one. We got to get
right?
into that.
Like, I think that to create the guise of action and interesting cinematography or whatever, it was trying to do that with the shot composition, I suppose.
The Dutch angles. It should feel like it's communicating instability, dread, disorientation, the world being moved off its axis. But in this movie, if the writing is flat and the blocking is dull and the scene has no tension, just tip the frame on its side and let's pray.
Ugh, look how cool that looks.
It's not style, it's a distress signal.
Right.
If you really wanted to go after it, the script is probably the biggest low in the entire movie. But the dialogue in particular is really radioactive.
I wrote that as one of the lows, is that like the Christmas Carol is very on the nose, like right, like tell me about the ghost of Christmas past and like what's gonna happen in my future. And it's like, I wonder what they're hinting at with this shit. Like,
and she has the line where she says out loud, "Hate to break it to you, Scrooge, you can't change anything."
yeah,
The fucking line when one of the teenage girls says, "You wouldn't like me when I'm hangry."
right.
And it's like groan inducing because it's like, okay, it's clearly a reference to the Hulk. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry. But it's like, even the word hangry, would that have been in the lexicon in 2003? I don't even think that was a term that we used 20 some odd years ago. Hangry? It's a bad joke and it's a bad 2003 period detail. When she's like getting in the car and she's like, "Don't do dumb things, girls."
I know that line was
don't do
terrible.
dumb.
That line, I didn't write down. I remember that line. It was terrible. Don't do dumb things, right? We should words to live by.
There are lines in this movie that don't sound like human beings talking. They sound like placeholder dialogue that was just left there that somehow survived every draft revision. You know what I mean? Like, I can't believe this line made it into the movie.
Right.
The product placement in this movie is insane.
Especially Pepsi.
Pepsi's the most egregious one. Product placement doesn't automatically ruin a movie. In this movie, it is so naked and so clumsy and so tied into the final action that it becomes impossible not to notice. The last fight takes place under a Pepsi sign that is falling on these people.
Yeah.
It's connected to a bigger problem in the movie because what it feels like is it's the studio trying to hedge fund a version of blockbuster filmmaking. The movie doesn't work, but at least the brand integration cleared, right? That connects to the bigger issue of the movie is that everything in this movie is hedged. The studio is hedging its bets. It wants to pay for the movie before it goes out there and fails. The movie's hedging towards a sequel. It's hedging towards Spider-Man. It's hedging toward multiple future heroines. It's hedging with its references. It's hedging with its mythology. It's hedging with everything but storytelling. Like, at some point, the movie needs to like be able to put its feet on the ground and stand up, and it can't. It has to fucking be under a Pepsi sign.
And then I guess if I'm thinking about it, the Britney Spears song and all that, and Beyonce too, like I feel like there's an affiliation with that. And I think if memory serves me correctly, Britney Spears was like the face of Pepsi in the early 2000s.
Yep.
So that doesn't surprise me that, I wonder if it's a happy accident or very on purpose, and Beyonce probably fucking was too at one point. So like, there you go.
Final low, franchise homework. This is the real problem of this movie. Madam Webb is not interested in being a good, self-contained movie. It is interested in being phase one of a cinematic universe rollout. This is the venom that has infected so much of blockbuster IP. The movie is less concerned with what Cassandra wants, what the girls need, what Ezekiel represents, or what the story means than it is with planting pieces on a board for future installments. Peter Parker's birth, Ben Parker, future Spider-Woman, a clairvoyant mentor figure, a villain connected to the Spider mythology. All of it feels like homework. Not fun homework, not I'm excited to see where this goes homework. More like, please read chapters 1 through 4 before the real movie starts homework. That's what this shit is. Into the Spider-Verse takes franchise material and it turns it into emotion. Madam Webb takes franchise material and turns it into obligation.
It's like so in the peripheral part of the universe of what Spider-Man is or who he would become that it barely qualifies to me as a Spider-Man movie, but...
Yep, couldn't agree more. In the end, it's a movie about seeing the future, but the future it's setting up is absolutely exhausting.
Don't get caught in its web.
Don't get caught in this movie's web. Nicely said. Next week, we're talking Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, a movie that also plays with what the audience thinks is coming next, except this one actually knows how to do it. Thank you very much for listening to this episode of Movie HighLow. Please send your high and low recommendations to moviehighlow@gmail.com. If you're enjoying the podcast, please give us a rating. Please subscribe. Please leave us a review. Check out the show on YouTube and tell a friend. Pass it along.
Give him the spin.
Give them the spin. We will see you next week at the Bates Motel.
Covered in gossamer and silk.
Don't take a shower.
You are the only one who can change the future. And when you take on the responsibility, great power will come.
Don't do dumb things.